Here, I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Kind of Like Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice, and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, a chance of showers and storms to the low of 65, then Tuesday clearing with a high of 77. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
Just Greg. Just Greg.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope you were able to get whatever you wanted done. Real fast, I am just looking at the radar because I know we might get some thunderstorms tonight. Currently, it looks like everything is kind of heading above and below the Twin Cities area. And actually, the one band I see going northwest is maybe hitting my area, but I don't know. I don't know if there's more coming tonight, but just keep your eyes open because I was seeing on Facebook and other top meteorological locations that band. You have the map of Minnesota, and then you have the band of like the degrees of severe weather, and we're in the lowest band, but we're still in a band. So maybe you'll get some thunderstorms tonight. I always say, though, that is the most unfair thing in the world is to get like a tornado in the middle of the night. And I remember years ago, I was driving somebody down to Tucson, Arizona, and we went through. I wanted to go through Oklahoma because it was in May, and that was tornado season. But we ended up going through Kansas, and we on our way. We had to pass through Pratt, Kansas, and it was about 10 at night. And I'm driving, and I'm looking off to my right, and there's some lightning going on, but we're not in any severe weather ourselves. That's kind of off in the distance, but there's lightning. All of a sudden, one lightning flash went on long enough to see a funnel, a touchdown, a tornado. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we pulled over because I just wanted to make sure that what we were looking at was going the opposite direction of where we were going and how we were driving, which I kind of figured it was. But still, a tornado at night, that is unfair. And the person that I traveled with, we stopped at the hotel, and they're not used to tornadoes at all. And so they spent the entire night looking out the window to see if any more tornadoes were coming, because they were scared. And tornadoes are scary. I don't blame that person for being kind of freaked out about it, because after all, like I said, it's if you're not used to it and you only see it in movies, if you've only seen Twister, you really don't really know what tornadoes can do. And actually, the last Twister, tornadoes are doing stuff that's impossible. So you have that as well. And I used to be a storm chaser really back in the day, and I've seen a number of tornadoes. And you know, before, I don't want to sound, you know, like before my time, but a lot of tornadoes and stuff that we were tracking when we didn't have like iPhones, we didn't have radars on our phones. Even like a laptop seemed impossible in a lot of ways. So, you know, it's certainly gotten easier, but at the same time, and I talked to Justin Wenzel about this, who was on the program. He's a storm chaser, a much more accomplished storm chaser than I ever could be. But he was on the show, and I think one of the things that you know, as we get these wonderful devices to get smaller and smaller, the problem is that you get more people who are interested in it, which is a good thing, but they are kind of like, well, I have a phone that has the maps and radar and stuff on it, therefore I know what I'm doing. And according to Justin, the thing is that it pretty much starts to congest and clog up the areas that the people who really know how to, you know, be a storm chaser, clogs up those areas for them to go through. And you might be like, well, what's the difference? You just go and you watch storms. The difference is, of course, is that the storm chasers know exactly what to do if they're close enough to like a tornado, and the tornado changes direction and maybe starts coming back at them. And if you have a lot of people who don't see that, don't understand that, suddenly that's a dangerous situation. Also, what is something about storm chasers, the legit ones, is they might be tracking a storm and it goes through a town or just an area where people are living or whatever else, and it might decimate the area. Those storm chasers, probably 9 out of 10, will go to that town and they will start assisting people. They will start helping. They'll start making sure people are right, start looking for people. I mean, those are things that are, just beautiful. And they actually, I don't think, really talk about it a whole lot. And that's something that's very important. So I just, it's a complete utter tangent because we're not getting tornadoes tonight, as far as I know. But it's important, you know, it's so, and you know, it's kind of sad in a way because I love severe weather. I don't like the damage it does or the lives that it hurts, but I love, since I was a child, the urgency, you know, the watching television and you know, Dave Dahl breaking into the programming to tell us what's going on, and he's in front of a big map of, you know, severe weather coming in, explaining what's going on, or just the crawl going across the bottom of your screen with the beeping and all that stuff. There's something about that is ingrained in my memory forever, about being just so wonderful. And I love like just listening to the weather radio, even though it's, you know, kind of synthesized voices or whatever else. It's really a lot of fun. I do enjoy it, and I think if I knew anything about math, I might have been a meteorologist, or science for that matter. But I enjoy it from afar. Now, Richard Estep was going to join us tonight, and that's unfortunately not going to happen tonight. So if you were hoping to hear him talk about his book about being a paramedic. Help is on the way. That's not going to happen tonight. Hopefully down the line it can happen. But certainly I would ask that you all consider picking up that book. I mean, why I wanted to bring Richard on basically is we talk about, and we've had him on the program before. He's a prolific writer. He is, just immersed in paranormal. The first book I read of his was one regarding Fox Hollow Farms. It's just one of the greatest books I've read. And I just, but I also like to show when people are doing something beyond what we always see them do. And so hopefully we'll get them on at some point, because I think it's important. And it's also important, I think, for people to understand how being a paramedic works. I mean, I think there is stuff about that's really interesting and also really important. And I was really curious to know what kind of I don't know, what is the things that we totally get wrong about what we think about paramedics, or what is one thing that he wants everyone to know, that sort of thing. So like I said, we'll get him on. So it led me to another thought, because it's like, okay, well, I still want to do a show, obviously. And I was too lazy to find another guest because it's just like, well, no, we can work our way through this. We always have good conversations, good topics. And I thought to myself, as we're talking last Friday night, right? We were talking about the idea of, has a loved one come to you as spirit to let you know that their time is up and that they're going to be dying. And then you find out a little while later that they died. So you get this sort of this premonition. And I thought, well, let's dial that back a little bit. Because, that means that we're already believing. We're already believing in like a spirit life or whatever else. And I thought to myself, well, why do we believe? Why is it that we do believe? And I don't think it's just even about spirits or ghosts. I think it's about, if we believe in aliens, why do we believe that? Or if we believe in Bigfoot, why do we believe in that? And those are things that I find very fascinating. Conversely, I think it's also important to be like, what are the limits to this? What is it that I don't believe? And what is it that you don't believe? Because there might be people, and I've run across this, where people are like, I believe in spirits. I believe spirits are out there. I believe they come to us, but aliens, oh, no. That's impossible. Or vice versa. I think there's life out there, aliens, but once you're dead, you kind of are done and there's nothing more to you. And I find it fascinating. I believe that I've experienced things in my life that that really make it so I can't ever not believe, if that makes any sense. That I believe that I am, that there is stuff in my opinion that makes it impossible to not believe. Now, if you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube, once again, Facebook, GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun, or AM 950 Radio, same with YouTube, GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun, or AM 950 Radio, and you want to put in the comments, what was it that made you believe? Did you always believe? Did you believe before you ever saw anything? Or have you maybe never seen anything, but you're just like, I have faith that this exists, that this is real? And is there something that you don't believe in, but you believe in other things? I know I'm asking a lot here. Just put in what you want. But make it good, all right? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I do make it good, actually. But I'd love to hear what people have to say about that, because I find it very interesting. Now, I want to kind of tell a story here. I want to tell a story about, I mean, I've believed for so long. I believed my whole life, actually. I think the first time I ever encountered a spirit was when, probably 1979, and well, I wasn't born for another 35 years. No, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately, I'm just kidding. 1979. I am, what would that be? I'm 5 years old. My grandmother, which was my mom's mom, passed away. And it's very sad, obviously. Grandma was only in her 60s, early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Not very old at all. Smoker. Had a hard life. Her husband, my grandfather, who I never knew, was a violent alcoholic, to be perfectly honest. And unfortunately, when he passed in early 1970, no, he died. No, he passed away. He died mid 1970. I think it was a great relief for her. Unfortunately, and it's unfortunate how that works, but it was pretty bad for her and my mom. And that's sad. That makes me sad because what ended up happening was both my grandmother and certainly my mother showed that you can live a better life than that. But I'm getting off topic here. My grandmother passed away, and a couple things happened. One I didn't know about till later, but one I remember expressly is, it was after the funeral. And you go to a funeral at a funeral home, and the flowers are that's like very, very sweet, right? The roses are such a sweet, just almost obnoxious smell. I don't know personally. I don't know of anyone who goes to a funeral and be like, "Oh, those are amazing." If you know what I mean, it's not like they're horrible, but it's like this is not just hanging out in a flower shop. This is a funeral parlor. This is the smell of a funeral home. And I was just I was 5 in the living room with my mom, and the funeral had been over. I don't know how long because I'm 5 years old. I don't know, time. But I remember this very heavy scent of that funeral home roses come into the living room, and as quickly as it came in, it left. And I was just like, I'm like, 5-year-old Greg, what's that? What's going on? What is that? And my mom did not skip a beat, and she said, "That's grandma." I mean, and that's, to me, that's crazy. A 5-year-old that is like, suddenly I don't know if I ever really got it before, but she said that. And as time goes on, you kind of wonder, did I dream um uh about that episode? Did I dream that even happened? So it was probably probably about 2013, 2014, because Dad was still around, and I was over at their house for a holiday, and I asked Mom, "Did this actually happen?" And I explained it to her. She goes, "Oh yeah, no, that was there. That's real. I remember it too." And then she went on to tell me about a couple times going downstairs, and on the couch downstairs, because you could see the couch. If you went down the stairs, you'd take a look to the left, and the corner of the other side of the room would be a couch, and Grandma would stay down there occasionally. And Mom would be like, I'd go down there, and sometimes she'd be laying down there or sitting down there and disappear. That's crazy. That's crazy. In years after, I ended up picking up which his my grandfather's name was Lou Kokish. We ended up picking him up through the spirit box a couple times, and I didn't know what to make of that because he was a very troubled man, a lot of demons, unfortunately, with him. And who knows what had happened once my grandmother passed, and did they ever see each other again or not? I really don't know. I really don't know at all. Once again, feel free to put into the comments whether or not, how did you believe? Did you actually see proof of something, and what you considered proof of something, and you're like, okay, I'm in? Or is it something where it's basically faith-based, and you have been like, well, I just believe. I haven't seen it, but I just believe. Remember Alana Masad last week on the program talking about aliens? She's like, I believe, I just haven't seen, and I want to see really badly, and that's why I probably am not seeing it, because I want to believe it so badly. And that is very interesting. That's a different sort of thing. I also want to know, what is it, if you believe in a lot of this stuff, is there anything you absolutely do not believe in? I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. So let's go ahead. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about how do we believe. I'm going to share some more stories. I want to share one about the Palmer House. When I was there a number of years ago, very interesting stuff. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun, a night out with friends, or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape.
Just Greg. Just Greg.
And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much. It is just me tonight, which is all good. Before we get back to our topic tonight, I just want to let people know that this Friday, Char Savoy and I will be leading investigations over at the Pillsbury Club in Minneapolis. Of course, that is the headquarters to the Minneapolis Trolley Tours. We've been having some just incredible experiences there, and we'd love to invite you to come out this Friday. It starts at 9, goes to 11. You need to get tickets ahead of time, and to do so, you just need to go over to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com, pick up tickets, and we are continuing to do this through Halloween. And we are also at AM 950 figuring out what the Halloween plans are for our usual big Halloween cavalcade episode. And we have some really interesting ideas, not fully formulated yet, but it's never too early to start planning for Halloween. And I know it's a Saturday night, and I know a lot of you will be out partying, but remember to keep us in mind in terms of listening to us or listening later or having it on when you're going to your parties or whatever. And, I'm hoping that we're going to have some information here soon about the big, the big cavalcade, the big event, whatever we're going to call it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I do want to ask a favor of people, if you don't mind me saying so. I would like to ask people that you consider signing up for my Patreon. That is patreon.com/GhostBox Radio. And it starts as low as $5 for membership. And why this is important is that it helps me be able to keep a lot of the side stuff going that we're doing for GhostBox Radio, stuff that helps me out greatly, such as scheduling media posts and getting different lights like what you see behind here and other things. And I'd really also to buy books is also a big one. And because we don't always get books from the author, we don't always, and that's not, we don't want to stop authors from coming on to share their creativity just because they can't give me a book, so if it's something I really want, or it's just not possible. And a lot of authors are self-published as well. I'll go out and get the book as well. So please consider doing so. And like I said, $5 a month. I found out something kind of gruesome yesterday. I had no idea. On my Patreon, I have like a $3 level, $5 level. I thought I had an $8 level. I thought I had like a $15 or $20 level. And then we have a $50 level, which I didn't expect anyone really to sign up for. But we do have one extraordinarily generous soul who does that. And then a friend of mine, she's going through because she was thinking of possibly doing a different tier. And she's like, do you realize that your Patreon is going from $5 a month to $50 a month? And I'm like, well, no, you're wrong. That's my first instinct to tell everybody. No, you're horribly wrong. It's in fact, there should be 2 other tiers in between. And she's like, no. And she hands me her phone, and it's like, either you could sign up for $5, or if you really like me, we're just going to jump ahead to 50. And that's just like, oh my God, that's embarrassing actually. Because it's like, do people look at them like, what a clown. He thinks that, okay, if we don't want to do 5, maybe we want to do a little bit more. The next is 50. So I'm going to update that. The next tier will be $10. And so that'll be updated here in a day or so. But please consider doing so. One of the things that we're going to do is a monthly episode of the show, so to speak. We're calling it GhostBox Plus. And it's going to be available exclusively to members of our Patreon. And those topics are going to be topics we haven't talked about on the program, or we might get down a little bit more. I have one. The first one is going to be in September, and I know the person who's going to be on. We're just working together to figure out when we can get together and record it, or we may broadcast it live through Patreon. We're not quite sure what it is yet, but it's a different take on a famous case here in the Midwest, and I'm very interested. Matter of fact, I'm too scared to put this on to the radio, and I'll explain at some point. It's not as horrible sounding as I just made it sound, but I didn't want this on the regular GhostBox radio show. I think this is something that I feel much more calm about having it, where it's not just out there forever, because it's very controversial. It's a very controversial take on something, and that makes it exciting and scary at the same time. And we're going to do that, and that's going to be exclusively on Patreon. Once again, if you feel the need, I certainly would really appreciate some folks signing up. Patreon.com/GhostBox Radio. But I also want to say real fast, I have a lot of people who like what I do. Like, they'll click the like button. I have a lot of people who share my stuff. I have a lot of people who just are been supportive of me for years. So as much as I appreciate people signing for patreon.com, please don't think I don't see all of you. So many people just make it so that I can be seen by other people, that they've supported me throughout all these years, and that means as much to me. So I don't want you to think that I ignore that and I'm only looking at the Patreon stuff. Far from it. I'm often absolutely overwhelmed by people who just share my stuff and support what we're doing. And thank you all so very much for that. I really appreciate it. Going to the comments, Amber says, I just did the trolley tour. It was amazing, and I had some experiences. I'll have to do the investigation. Recommend. Thank you, Amber. Really appreciate that. The trolley tour is very special. So is the Pillsbury Club. Very much. All of it. It's all very good. So we just love it. We love Norman and John, who both have just gone out of the way to make Shar and I feel so very welcome. And still, my favorite thing about the Pillsbury Club investigation is when John joins and he just has a smile from ear to ear because he's loving what is happening. And I love that. I love seeing him happy and knowing, because normally when he's in there in the investigations with us, Spirit is making sure that he knows that they love him. And I think that's really cool too. Tonight, we are talking about, why do we believe in this stuff? What is it? I mean, and I guess where I'm getting at here is this before we actually had experiences of our own? I want to tell, and I said in the first segment, okay? I said in the first segment that I've experienced stuff that made it impossible for me to not believe, okay? There was, at the Palmer House, and I've got to be careful here because these are real people we're talking about, okay? Real families, a real situation. It's not just a story, it's a fact, in the sense that people's lives were irreversibly changed that night. And I do want to start with that in the sense that, we investigators, and just like the storm chasers we're talking about in the first segment, we get caught up in the stuff that's exciting to us about what happened. The stuff that is like what happened that means something to us, that maybe will make what we believe in, that it validates it or whatever else. But the other side of it is in like, the severe weather stuff, people's houses, property, or lives were destroyed during those storms. Or in the case of what I'm about to tell you, somebody had lost a mother at a very young age this night that we are going to talk about here briefly. So I just want to make sure it's clear. I tell this story with the utmost respect to everyone involved, because the story started off with a bunch of paranormal investigators deciding just to have a weekend at the Palmer House from different teams and stuff, all getting together and just enjoying a weekend of investigating. And so I'm using Spirit Box as I normally do. And we're upstairs in the restaurant, and somebody who used to work there, her son had passed away some time ago, and we were able to get him on the Spirit Box, which was absolutely a joy. And that's what I like to do. And it was very incredible. Suddenly a woman came through and she kept saying a name, Lisa, Lisa. And then she'd say, Sunday, so angry, Lisa, Sunday, so angry. And we're just like, what on earth? What is happening here? And then we stopped for a while and we started up again. I started up the spirit box. Lisa. And it's a female voice. Lisa. Sunday. Angry. And like, what's going on? And if you have tuned in the show before, Suzanne Worthley talking about being starseed, her sister's named Lisa. So and has always been a part of the Palmer House stuff. And so she's living in another state. So we call her and it's like, this might be for you. And we're just kind of talking and she's a medium and she's like, I don't feel like it is. And that was Friday night. And we're done. Saturday, we're now down in the basement. And we're all doing stuff and we start doing a spirit box session. And all of a sudden, Lisa, Sunday. She, and it was like, what? Angry. All right, this is crazy, but don't know what to do with it. So, go back upstairs. I'm hanging out in the bar up there and it's like about 10 p.m. And I'm like, I'm just tired. I think I'm going to go to bed. But then I don't. And next thing you know, it's closing time. And we are closing out. And the person who is, closing out the bar, who we know, and she's the one with her son that came through the spirit box on Friday. So if you've ever been to the Palmer, main floor, one side is the bar and restaurant, well, the bar really, and the other side is like the lobby and front, and then further back is the restaurant. So we're all hanging out in the side with the front area, not the restaurant. All of a sudden, the person who is the closing out, and we've talked about, she comes running into our room and she's just crying. She's absolutely crying. And we're like, what's going on? And she said, and she gave a name, which I won't say, who is a young girl working at the Palmer House. She said that they just found her mom dead. And they found her just, she wasn't on the bed. She rolled over off the bed and they found her just face down and she was dead. And my friend Ryan, might remember from Myth or Mystery, says, what was her name? And you guessed it, it was Lisa. And that all happened just after midnight. So it was Sunday morning. And that is something that was ingrained in me for years. And it's one of the most craziest stories that I've ever, experienced. It's not even a story, it's an experience. And I just can't, even now, it still gives me the chills. And that was truly one of the, and once again, there's nothing cool about this. There's nothing, because somebody lost their mother way, way, way too early. I lost my mom. She was 78. That's way, way too early for me. This woman, I think, probably was in her 40s. It's one of those things that is really very unfortunate. But that's one of those things also that I'm like, I can't deny. that there is something, I mean, I knew that before all that, but that's one of my most, those are one of the stories I like to share, experiences I like to share, that is just like, you got to understand, how do you explain that? How do you explain that on the spirit box, you're hearing her name, not just like once or twice, but multiple times through 3 different sessions on 2 different floors? That's not possible. And it is certainly one of those that I find just, I think about, and I think about them, the family, but I also think about the experience itself. What I think I want to do here, I want to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about stuff I don't believe in. And if you have something you don't believe in, I'd love you to put that into the comments yourself, because there's always something. But we have a lot more to do. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theAndersonHouseHotel.com.
Just Greg. Just Greg.
And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to have on author W.J. Brendel. We're going to be talking about his newest book, I Was Not Satan, The Real Story of Lucifer. And I think that'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And that'll be a fantastic read. And once again, you'll be able to pick that up if you want to over at GhostBox Book Club on GhostBoxRadio.com. we are talking tonight about what is it that we believe, and why do we believe it? And I want to talk about what I don't believe as well, because I think that's very important. One of the things that I used to believe, I mean, I've been over to Oban, Scotland, where it's over by the loch. And so I was, used to always believe in like the Loch Ness Monster. I don't. I think if I'm going to not believe in something, I do not believe that there's a Loch Ness Monster. I'm just going to be very honest with you. I actually was on the Matt McNeil show about a year ago, and we're talking about, because there was some interesting stuff that kind of surfaced, if you will, no pun intended, about this mythical creature, and some of it had to do with, I think, sound waves and whatever under the water there. But of course, as usual, the people who are reporting this forgot to start the recording mechanism. So there was no audio recording of this whatsoever. And that's kind of what, the way it goes, isn't it? I'll tell you, this is what really makes me mad, is that there's like a 1932 picture of what looks like, a reptilian, kind of his head with a long neck, hanging out of the water, and that's like, that was like proof for years that there is a Loch Ness Monster, only to find out that this is actually, like, I think is it like somebody's hand or something? Just like, so it's like, you can't, it's like the sun is behind it and the water is behind it, which is brighter. So you can't really make out whether it's a hand or it's a handle or something. That just, once I found out that that's not real, I'm like, forget this. That really burst my bubble, because I for years, like, that is such a cool picture. I know it's and probably to everybody else, they looked at it and goes, oh God, that's not even remotely realistic. But I'm here just like, it's real. I believed in Santa Claus, for a long time. Let's put it that way. So I'm easily gullible for centuries, and I just was. I was like, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in finding out that that was a fake photo. Same with in at Lake Pepin. You have Pepe out there. That's the belief. You have Pepe up there, over off of Lake Pepin, the lake monster. And Lake Pepin is a big area of lakes that it leads out, if I'm not mistaken, to the Mississippi River. Now, to be fair, and I see Austin is here on the in the chats, and Austin was with me and John Marson after the one night of our Dave Schrader event at the Anderson House. We walked across the street and just about another block over, and there is the Mississippi River. And we decided to do some calling to see if we could get any kind of sound of Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or whatever we want to call them, forest friends, to make some kind of sound, because across the river is Wisconsin, and that part of Wisconsin right there is dense woods. And when we do it, and I had recordings of what people believe were Sasquatch making sounds, yelling. We got a tree knock back across the river, and we got some other kind of anomalous sort of sounds, and I'm not sure if what that is, but it was really cool. But at that moment, something came out of the water in front of us and splashed back down. Now, it could be a fish, like a big fish, but it was right at that moment, and it was big, so big and so fast that I personally could not gauge it. And I don't know if Austin is just like, no, that was a fish. John and I were kind of like, oh my gosh, what is this? It was very interesting, a very interesting night. Now, Austin, speaking of Austin, and he says, speaking of this experience and all that we have witnessed, what do you believe about the Patterson Gimlin footage? I'm sure you have discussed this before. We have, and I would recommend. There's some great episodes that we had. A gentleman by the name of MK. MK. Now I'm sorry, because I don't think it's Lewis. Let me just look it up real fast here. MK Davis. MK Davis. Look up the episodes with him. He breaks down how this is an actual animal opposed to, or sorry, not an animal. They're never animals. How this is an actual entity that is not in a suit, and that it's actually female. And what is it that she's doing in the film? Because what he explained to me, I think I personally never heard before. And I think what's interesting about that is that what he's explaining is in plain sight, but is not something people talk about too often. And so the last time we had MK Davis on, he was on this year. I think he was on in the early part of the year, I'd like to say, or spring or summer. I hope that helps you. He was on this year. That's all I know. And it was fantastic. What I also liked about MK Davis being on is that he was on early on when I went nightly in 2023. He was on and we had a good conversation. I want to believe at that time he was more in the camp. And this is a great piece of what the evolution of your beliefs are. He was in the camp, I felt like, at the time, where he believed that this was an animal. He believed it was an animal, and he believed that they just hide very well. Now, he still believes that they hide very well, and we talk about like how easy it could probably be to find a bunch of them where that film was shot. But he seemingly has now come around to believing the stuff that, when I bring on Ernie Pack, when I bring on Shar, when I bring on Denise Pack, and all these beliefs of this being an interdimensional being, he's there now. MK Davis believes that now. And he believes that they are a kind of they are the way, they are a path to deeper understanding. And I want to get him back on to talk about that. And so that, and within 3 years, that has changed exponentially, because that's one of the things when I bring on somebody to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or whatever, I kind of tiptoe around the question of what do you think about them being interdimensional, because I just don't know what kind of response we're going to get. The people, if I may say, I think the people who I think I like the most are the ones that, that they're open to different concepts. So what they're telling me is I'm not ruling that out. And even though I personally believe that I've seen it firsthand, you got to be respectful of other people's beliefs, even if they are like, well, I just think it's an animal, because they might be able to have some of the experiences I have. But I don't want to just force something down someone's throat because I personally believe it. I can tell them what I've experienced, but I can't, I don't want to go any further than that, because I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. So seeing the kind of the journey that MK Davis had made is very satisfying for me. And, he's been out there, and he continues to do a great deal of research, and I think it's great. And I think what's really unfortunate about what's going on with the Patterson Gimlin film is, as you know, Patterson's son, estranged son, has just thrown a lot of doubt on this footage of that it's fake, because and it hurts really bad, because this is somebody related to the people who took the footage. And that suddenly it's like people are just like, it must be real. That being said, I think that whole concept, that whole load of garbage has kind of passed now. I haven't heard anything about that. I heard because I think that film was going to be premiered at South by Southwest, and I heard that kind of tanked. And that's the thing. I mean, it's simply wrong. I shouldn't say that because I'm always one to be like, let's get all the facts together. But I firmly believe that film is real, and I firmly believe that sort of character assassination on that film is wrong as well. That is just not that's not cool, and it could have set back the whole like research. And I'm not even talking if people believe it's interdimensional or not. You would have set back all that research, 50 years, 60 years, because someone is like, well, because he's angry at his dad, he's just like, no, it's not real. I have the proof. I know it. And the proof he provided was pretty lackluster anyway. So, I just, whatever. So I believe in the Patterson Gimlin film. I do not believe in that son with his outrageous sort of like comments of what he thinks about it being a hoax or whatever else. That's a great question. And I think that really fits well within our topic tonight, because it's something that, I don't know. We all have our core, don't we? We all have the thing that we really believe, and we all have our limits as well. I really enjoyed this. I really appreciate everyone who took part in it. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Tomorrow, we are going to have on W.J. Brendel. We're going to be talking about I Was Not Satan, the real story of Lucifer. Everybody, have a fantastic night, and I will see you tomorrow.